A newly appointed police chief arrives at his station in civilian clothes, wanting to see how his officers behave when they believe no one important is watching. However, when a white officer insults him and spits in his face, mistaking him for someone insignificant, the entire room is about to witness a stunning revelation that will shock everyone present. Hello everyone. Welcome to the True Crime Archives by Chacha for newcomers to this channel. If you love true stories, this channel was made for you. We post true crime stories they thought they buried every day. If this interests you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you always get the latest content. Your support means a lot. Don't forget to hit the like button. As I've told you before, the like button is a simple gesture for you, but for me it's something huge because it helps YouTube know that people like my content and shows it to more new people. So please don't forget to support me by hitting that like button. On a humid Tuesday morning in August, Richard Nelson, recently named as police chief, exited his vehicle in the center of Blue Ridge, a small town nestled in the hills of North Carolina. Wearing an ordinary plaid shirt, faded jeans, and worn sneakers, he appeared nothing like someone who had dedicated 20 years to advancing through law enforcement ranks. This was precisely what he intended. Richard valued seeing situations as they genuinely were, not through the sanitized perspective of formal meetings or prepared greetings. As a black man assuming a leadership position in a precinct surrounded by rumors of wrongdoing, he wished to view the department without filters. What better method than to remain inconspicuous? The station's parking area was active with officers arriving and departing. Richard surveyed the scene, observing the relaxed conversations and occasional looks in his direction. Nobody appeared to know who he was, which wasn't surprising. His appointment had been made public only recently, and he had decided against announcing his arrival until the formal inspection scheduled for later that morning. He pulled down his baseball cap and breathed deeply. The burden of his purpose, to eliminate the corruption growing within the department, weighed heavily upon him. He was familiar with opposition, but he understood this position would challenge him in unprecedented ways. As he neared the building, soft laughter drifted through the air. Richard entered the precinct through a side door, unnoticed amid the buzz of informal conversation and telephone rings. The tile floors gleamed under bright fluorescent lighting, and the scent of old coffee lingered in the atmosphere. He moved deliberately, watching the interactions around him. Clusters of officers gathered near workstations, some sharing stories, others examining documents. Nobody gave him much notice until he stopped near the break area. "Hey, you!" A harsh voice pierced through the sounds. Richard turned to see a white officer walking toward him. A cocky smile spread across his face. His name tag displayed Officer Daniels. Behind him, several others stood against the wall, observing with curiosity. Richard began to speak, but Daniels wouldn't allow him the opportunity. "Lost, are we?" "This isn't a homeless shelter," the officer declared, his voice filled with contempt. "You need to take that nonsense elsewhere." Richard stood still, the words hitting him like a blow. He was uncertain whether to identify himself immediately or allow the situation to continue developing. Before he could choose, Daniels moved closer, raising his voice for his audience's benefit. "Didn't you hear me? Get out of here. We don't need people like you loitering around." Laughter broke out from the spectators, and Richard tightened his jaw, his heart racing. He attempted to speak, but Daniels leaned forward, his face very close. Then suddenly the officer spat directly into Richard's face. Everything seemed to freeze. Richard's breathing caught as a warm saliva ran down his cheek. Around him, the laughter intensified. One officer hit the table, bending over with amusement, while another mumbled something about putting the troublemakers in their place. Richard's thoughts raced. He could feel his heartbeat pounding in his ears, but he maintained his calm. He reached into his pocket, retrieving a handkerchief to clean his face, his actions slow and measured. "Is this how you treat everyone who enters these doors?" he asked, his voice composed but strong. Daniels sneered, "Only the ones who don't belong here." The group laughed again, but Richard remained silent. Instead, he turned and walked down the corridor, leaving the officers behind. To keep up with this series and even more interesting true crime stories that never came to light until now, hit the red subscribe button. Now back to the story. As he moved toward the precinct's main office, an intercom came alive, summoning all personnel to the briefing room. It was time. The briefing room buzzed with conversation as officers entered, some carrying coffee cups, others chuckling over private jokes. Richard came in through a side entrance, now carrying a folder bearing the precinct official emblem. He stood just outside view, observing the room filled with recognizable faces, some still amused from the earlier event. At the front of the room, Captain Harris, a heavy-set man with a graying mustache, requested order. "All right, settle down, everyone. We have an important introduction today." The officers grew quiet, their interest aroused. Daniels leaned against the wall, his arms folded, a smug look still on his face. The man was clearly enjoying his morning. Captain Harris cleared his throat. "As most of you are aware, Chief Caldwell retired last month. We've been awaiting his replacement, and I'm happy to present our new leader, a man with an outstanding record and a vision for this department." Richard stepped forward, his footsteps deliberate. The room became motionless as he approached the podium, his presence demanding attention. He placed the folder on the stand and slowly examined the room, his composed manner only intensified. Daniel's smirk disappeared. The color left his face as understanding struck. The other officers exchanged nervous looks, some whispering, others staring at Richard with wide eyes. "Good morning," Richard began, his voice stable. "My name is Richard Nelson. Starting today, I'm your new chief of police." The silence was overwhelming. Daniel's face became deep red, his confidence vanishing. Richard's gaze found him, lingering for a moment longer than needed before moving across the rest of the room. "When I arrived this morning," Richard continued, "I came in regular clothes because I wanted to see the department through an honest perspective. What I observed was revealing." A whisper moved through the crowd, but Richard lifted a hand to quiet it. "In my short time here," Richard continued, "I've already witnessed behaviors that are not just unprofessional, but completely unacceptable. Let me be clear. The culture that has been permitted to grow here ends today. Like, comment, and subscribe to the True Crimes Archives by Chacha, where every crime is a witness, and every truth will be told for more true crime stories. See you in the next episode, and thanks for watching."